This video is going to cover one of our major macromolecules, nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are made of nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus. So of NCHOPs, they make up a good portion of that, basically everything except for sulfur. And this actually becomes a big deal when we get into how we knew DNA was our genetic material. Nucleic acids are composed of monomers called nucleotides. So no matter which nucleic acid that you're talking about, all of them are made of nucleotides. They will have slight differences, but they will all be called nucleotides. All nucleotides have three parts to them. They all have a 5-carbon sugar, which is shown here, a phosphate group, and a nitrogenous base. So you should be able to recognize this image as well as draw it. This is another picture of a nucleotide, though this of course has all of the atoms and where they're located. You won't have to draw this, but again, you should be able to recognize this without the words here. But again, there are three main parts. It's the only one of our biological molecules that has three parts: our nitrogenous base, our 5-carbon sugar, and our phosphate group. DNA is going to be one of our polymers of nucleic acids. DNA is the polymer of DNA nucleotides. So as we said, there are going to be different types of nucleotides, but they'll all be called nucleotides. And DNA is located in your cells and holds all of your genetic information. Okay? DNA is typically in a double helix structure, and also sort of shown in this sort of stepladder sort of picture here. In the creation of a nucleic acid polymer from the nucleotide monomers, we get nucleotides linked together in a chain as such, okay? Where the yellow is the phosphate group, the blue here is the sugar, and these items sticking out here in sort of the latter rungs are going to be the nucleotides. And here I can draw for you a sort of sample image of this. So I have, and then it'll bond to the next one. As such. And so you get this stair-step ladder, and overall these items, the sugar and phosphate, sort of come together to make this sort of single line. Even though it does zigzag, very similar to lipids, that zigzagging overall goes sort of in a straight line down the chain, and then the bases sort of stick out of the chain as such. Those two chains will come together, one chain going in one direction, and if you notice, this chain is going in the opposite direction. And we're going to talk more about DNA structure when we get to that unit in biology. And of course, then it will form a double helix. James Watson and Francis Crick are the scientists, American scientists, who are credited with finding this structure of DNA, and again, we're going to talk more about them in the DNA unit. RNA, which stands for ribonucleic acid, is going to be the polymer of RNA nucleotides, which is a helper to DNA in carrying out the genetic code. So DNA might say you have brown hair, but how do we get from the gene saying that to your hair actually being brown? And so there's many steps associated with that, but in several of those steps, RNA is going to be a helper molecule. Now notice that you have a similar basic structure with the sugar and the phosphate group and the nitrogenous base with RNA. However, RNA is going to be single-stranded, not double-stranded, and that can mean it can make all these very different shapes, sometimes bonding with itself, unlike DNA, which bonds with another DNA chain. Very interesting. And these shapes of RNA are going to be involved in the different types of RNA and their functions. So again, you should be able to answer the following questions about nucleic acids, and if you can't, please feel free to go back into the video.